This is the Highly Sensitive Club, episode number 54.
Have you been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much? Do you have big feelings and deep thoughts you don't always know what to do with? I'm Linn, a certified life coach and highly sensitive person. I've helped dozens of highly sensitive clients feel more energized, more confident, and more in control of their high sensitivity. In these episodes, you'll get the information and inspiration to level up your life as a highly sensitive person too. Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Club.
Hello, highly sensitive person, and Happy New Year! I feel so excited that I get to publish an episode on 2025. I don't know about you, some New Year's I feel very resistant to starting the year, and I want to pretend like it's just another month. I'm not making resolutions. I don't even want to really look backwards. I'm just trying to act like everything is normal. And usually I have felt this way because I've been disappointed about something, I've been avoiding facing some emotions that felt uncomfortable that I didn't want to, or because I didn't want to set myself up for disappointment if I wasn't able to accomplish the thing that I wanted to do in the coming year. If this feels like you, I have just the episode for you today because I have the simplest way to celebrate your year before and set your intention for the year ahead. I know you, highly sensitive person, are probably an overthinker. You process a lot of information, you take in a ton of stimulation and input from your physical environment and from your internal landscape. So a lot of those deep reflections are very juicy. But if you have any hesitation about starting the new year off on the right foot, this is the super simple way to do it. I love January 1st, and I love January in particular, thinking about a Roman god. My aunt on my dad's side, Linn, is a folk singer, and she has a number of albums out that I grew up listening to. I loved hearing her folk music and her super powerful, strong voice. Her very first album had an illustration of her as the god Janus, looking forwards and looking backwards. January is actually named for the Roman god Janus because he's the threshold god. He's about beginnings and endings, looking forwards and backwards, looking outward and looking inward. This transitional moment in the new year is one of those great opportunities for us highly sensitive people who are looking for that deeper meaning, who are looking for that sense of purpose and satisfaction, to be able to look back very intentionally and to look forward just as intentionally as well. So here are these super simple ways to reflect on your previous year and to look ahead with a sense of calm and purpose that doesn't have to have a lot of expectations or pressure or weight to them. In order to look back on your year the simplest way possible, I want you to evaluate three simple things. Number one, what went well? Number two, what didn't go well? And number three, what will I do differently next year? I use this with my mentees. I use it with my coaching clients. I use it in my life. I use it with interactions. This is the simplest evaluation technique I have ever heard, and you can use it in any context you can think of. What went well? What didn't go well? What am I going to do differently? For instance, I will share with you my quick reflection on 2024. What didn't go well was a lot of busy work, a lot of productivity, and a lot of getting stuck feeling like I needed to work hard in order to have success in my business and in my life. I feel like August 15th was my before moment and my after moment because that is the day that I was in my car accident and everything changed in my life for the better. I decided on the way to the hospital that this could either be a traumatic incident and set me up for failure, or I could make this a turning point in my life. I could reset the things that weren't working, and I could make this the best thing that's ever happened. So that 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years or 10 years down the road, I could look back on this as a turning point. And 6 months down the road, I am definitely looking back on that moment as a turning point and as a very useful reset for the rest of my year and the rest of my life moving forward. That was a phoenix moment for me. I was working my buns off, spinning my wheels, not making progress, feeling frustrated, feeling resentful, feeling hopeless in a lot of ways, that even though I was doing all of these things, I was publishing the podcast, I was mentoring and working with clients and doing all these great things in my business, it felt like I wasn't getting where I wanted to be and that I constantly had to work harder and harder and harder to get ahead. After the accident, I had to rest. I had to slow down. I had to have surgery on my wrist. I had to lean on other people. I had to ask for help. I had to figure out that things were not as dire as I had made them out to be in my head, even subconsciously. And that meant that all of those fears and worries were really stories in my head, that I had a lot more security, I had a lot more opportunity, and I had so many more people who were ready and willing to support me at a moment's notice than I had any idea I had. That was a great moment, which created what went well in my year. What went well in my year was resetting, feeling a sense of abundance and gratitude and coziness for the things that are going well in my life, as well as the things that I'm looking forward to in the future. Of course, I still have goals for my business. I still want to hit 100K in a year. I want to bring in more clients. I want to hold more workshops. I want to have classes available. I have big dreams for my business, but I also have big dreams for my personal life too. I also want to take dance classes and yoga classes. I also want to do a lot of reflection work. I want to learn some new things this year that I'm really interested in. I did a whole intention setting workshop with one of my friends, and I am a few days away from figuring out what is my intention to really focus my energy on in 2025. This whole mystery and burning the sheets of paper and eliminating one intention at a time has been so fun. And this sense of fun and play and this sense of curiosity and exploration and beginner's mind is really what went well in my 2024. And I hope that that resonates with you too, highly sensitive person, because many of us like to grow and we love to learn. So I want to invite you to think back on your 2024 or whatever year it is and figure out what went well, what didn't go well, and what will you do differently next year? Or what will you do differently next time? For me, this coming year, oh my gosh, I am so excited. I am building way more structure for my business and for my life. I am learning new things and leaning into my personal life in a way that I haven't for a long time since I was so focused on my business. And I can't wait to create that balance between these two, because my work is just a single expression of who I am in the world. It's not all of who I am. And I was putting a disproportionate amount of time and energy into thinking about that specific area of my life. There are so many areas that are going well, and I'm so excited to continue to grow and improve them into the new year. What I will be doing differently is balancing that sense of growth with that sense of play, the sense of work with the sense of joy and excitement. It's going to be a lot of balance, which really resonates for me as a Libra. This also brings me to the second part of this super simple look back at the year before and look forward at the year ahead. Resolutions might be a little bit scary for you. They're often scary for really sensitive people because we get very disappointed, and that's an intense feeling if we don't get the thing that we set out to do. Especially if you're a perfectionist and you're procrastinating on starting things because you want to do it perfectly the first time and you want to optimize everything, you might have a tricky relationship with New Year's resolutions. This is the super simple thing that I do every single year. It works every year, and it gives me a focal point that doesn't add any pressure. It just gets woven into my year. Every time I do this with a client or I do it with a friend, it creates so much more purpose and so much more clarity. Set your theme word for the year. I'm sure you've heard this one before. A lot of people like to talk about a theme word, but for you as a highly sensitive person, this could be exactly the thing that gets you out of the perfectionism loop, gets you out of analysis paralysis and decision fatigue, and helps you just pick one thing to work on this year. My main theme for 2025 is patience. This is so funny to me because I pride myself on being an action taker. I'm very resourceful. I'm a great problem solver. And because I have been so good at muscling through things and using a lot of willpower, I didn't really see how impatience was getting in my way. On the one hand, it was creating a sense of urgency and motivation for me to take action on things. However, because I was so impatient, I was also taking a lot of action that wasn't necessarily creating progress for me in the long term. I would create a structure and then I would get impatient that the structure wasn't panning out the way I wanted or that I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. I would crumple up the plan and throw it out because I was too impatient to work the plan. As I'm seeing this theme coming up in my life, it's coming up in all different areas, not only in my business, not only in my workshops or my podcasts and things that I had planned to do that I didn't follow through on and ended up doing something else instead. It also shows up in my relationships. It shows up in my health. It shows up in my business. It shows up in every single area of my life that identifying as an impatient person has helped me in the short term, but it has not helped me in the long term. And so I am actively working on patience in this season. Now, I want you to take this a step further. Whatever word you choose, I want you to clarify what exactly that means to you. For me, impatience means impulsiveness and it means short-sightedness. On the other side of that, patience for me this year means being in the flow, letting things be slow when it feels good and letting them be faster when I have that extra energy, when I am sensing that it's the time to move forward and take action. It's that balance in the flow between processing and planning and taking that action, as I've mentioned in a previous podcast episode about the formula for success. Sometimes you're going to need more planning and reflection. Sometimes you're going to need more action and more initiation. Patience also looks like looking into the future and trusting that the path I'm walking on is towards the future that I want. If the future feels far away, I'm not crumpling it up and throwing it out. I am sticking with the long-term goal and I might refine it. I might change it a little bit, but I'm not completely disregarding it because it feels so painful not to have it in the moment. This is what patience means for me. Being flexible, being in the flow, and having a future-oriented long-term vision that I'm willing to work towards and be in the process of instead of throwing it out when it starts to feel hard and scary and uncomfortable. One of my favorite public figures is Gretchen Rubin, who wrote The Four Tendencies. She wrote The Happiness Project, and she has a fabulous podcast with her sister Elizabeth called The Happier Podcast. And in it, she described a theme a few years ago that she had, which was salt. This was a very evocative, very vivid word for her because salt adds flavor and it also enhances other flavors in lots of different areas of your life. I thought that was interesting. I like to focus on qualities or core values or a characteristic that I want to work on in the coming year, but you can also be very creative about this. Just like Gretchen Rubin, you might have something like salt as your theme of the year because it's evocative. It's very sensational, meaning it has a sensory aspect to it. Salt has a very particular taste. It has a very particular texture and look, like pink Himalayan salt. What does this look like for you? What's your theme for the year? Describe it in one word. And then how can you weave that into every area of your life moving forward? If you would like help with this whole process, I would love to help you set your theme and your intention. This is something that I actively do all the time, but that I have really been digging into in December in preparation to start my January on a really strong note. If you would like help setting your intention and working through what's really getting in your way, picking a theme for the year so that you know how to weave it into the rest of your 2025 or another year if you're listening to this later, I would love to help you. Book a consultation call on my website, stephanielinn.com. That's Linn, and let's get started. It is a completely free conversation. You will get so much clarity out of it, and I will set you up with all of the knowledge and experience that I have available so that you don't have to do all this work for yourself. You can get it straight from someone who has studied it, who incorporates it into her life, and who can help you incorporate it into your life as well. Go to stephanielinn.com to book your free consultation call, and let's get started picking out your theme for 2025. Just as a quick recap, if you want to be like Janus, the god looking forward and backward in January, then you can look back on your previous year with this simple intent, this simple evaluation. What worked well? What didn't go well? And what will I do differently next year? As you're looking forward into the new year, as you're starting your new beginnings, and as you're going through and maybe outward, what's one theme that you would like to have in the coming year? Is it something that's a quality or a characteristic, or is it something a little more evocative or something in particular you want to focus on, like a hobby or a goal? Whatever it is, it's going to be the right theme for you, and think about that as you weave that into your coming year. Just as I mentioned in the previous episode, this is how you create magic and ritual in your year. Set your intention early, figure out what lessons you want to learn from the previous year and what you want to bring forward into your new year. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode, and I will see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening. If you're ready to take what you learned today to the next level, head over to StephanieLinn, that's LINN.com, and book a consultation call to get started. I can't wait to see you there, my dear HSP.